I'm live with Seth Hernandez, Hector Plasencia, and Dario Guerrero. My name is Arjang Zafar. I'm the program director for the Philly Asian American Film Festival. And welcome to the Latino Film Festival's Undocumented Filmmakers Features Block Q&A. Before we begin, I real quick would like to just say that we extend our solidarity to all of the people in the streets right now demanding justice, particularly our Black siblings. Just want to say that whether it's ICE or the police or whatever state-sanctioned violence, it's our duty to support each other in our struggle for our liberation. Okay, would y'all like to introduce yourselves? Whoever wants to go first, yeah. Seth?
Sure, I'll go ahead. Hi, everyone. Yeah. My name is Seth Hernandez Ronquillo. They, them also use other gender pronouns. I am with the Undocumented Filmmakers Collective and also the director, producer of coverage with the California Immigrant Policy Center.
Dario.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dario. I directed Rocio. And I just want to say thank you all for taking the time to join us today.
Go ahead, Hector.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Hector Plasencia. I am a movement consultant that works on the intersection of immigrant rights, transgender and queer liberation, and health access, and a protagonist in the film coverage.
Great. We are taking questions from Facebook as well as the Latino Film Festival website, where the program streamed. So, yes, let's see what people have to ask. Not seeing any questions yet, so I guess I can start. Let's see. Okay. I guess I can ask, what has anything taken, oh, okay, here we have a question. What was your inspiration? Pretty broad. Anyone who wants to respond to this can do so. Who wants to? Go ahead, Dario.
My inspiration, when I was like in middle school, my parents would take us to the mall every weekend, and my mom would go shopping, and I would go to the movies and movie hop. And so I got exposed to a wide variety of films at a high volume. And so I just started to see things like as everyday life as like little scenes. And growing up, as you saw, like there was a tradition already of filming stuff in our family. So it was only natural that when this big event happened, I turned the camera on ourselves.
So,
yeah, the question is very broad and vague. Like, is it inspiration to make the film, inspiration as a human being? I'll take the latter definition, the same way that Rio kind of talked about it. I think for me, my inspiration is everything that I haven't seen. When we see narratives about undocumented people in the media, it's always coming from this perspective. Not always, because clearly we have examples like Dario's film Rocio. We often see these examples of trauma porn, how sad our lives are, how scared we are, and kind of not acknowledging how powerful our community is. And with coverage, having known Hector, having known the leaders at the Filipino Worker Center and other undocumented leaders, I know how our lives are more than just the pain and the trauma that we're portrayed with. We do experience things because, that's real, especially during this time, but that's not all that we are. And I think for me, being able to show our lives beyond just the gaze of, the white gaze, I guess, as Toni Morrison would say. She said, it's like our lives don't have meaning without the white gaze. And being able to counteract that vision of who undocumented people are, that we are more than just the traumas that we're portrayed with. We are powerful, and catering to the sensibilities of undocumented audiences, whether they are Spanish speaking, Tagalog speaking, English speaking, you know, and being able to highlight that through coverage.
Thank you. For me, my inspiration is justice, being able to do this work. A lot of it is out of necessity. Seeing in our families and our communities that there is a lack of investment, there is a lack of care and protection consistently. Being able to use the level of privilege that I do have as an undocumented person, as a transgender person, to have insight on the issue and being able to, through the passion that both Set and Dario share, really elevate this message of humanity. And I think that that transcends beyond our identity, beyond immigration status. And at the same time, it's important to be able to make these connections. We do not want to disconnect the issue of undocumented immigrants and migration from Black lives. 619,000 undocumented immigrants exist. And are living here within our country without protection from immigration because of their immigration status, in addition to the police brutality that they experience on a daily basis. So a lot of our work, again, we started as a movement consultant because there was a lack of intersectionality. A lot of our work from the immigrant rights movement, the Black Lives Matters movement, the transgender and queer liberation, being able to work in silos, the need to be able to break away from that and really move towards making a lot of connections so that we see the grander scheme and at the same time how it is rooted in white supremacy, racism, and the importance and elevation of Black Lives Matter. And that's why that is extremely connected to the liberation of all people. And so again, our inspiration is justice, and through the inspiration and love of other people that have these platforms, being able to integrate justice in this way where it's purposeful, where it's transformative. And so everyone has the capacity to be able to use their medium, their muse, their interests to be able to speak about these issues. And so that's what we really want to be able to challenge people to do, to use your passion and what drives you. Your calling is much more than your work, and seeing how justice, social justice can play a role in being able to intersect that to really, again, be purposeful and change the direction of our course that we have in our human history.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. So, okay, we have a couple questions now. For Dario, we have, from where did you draw your strength to overcome the situation with your family to live a life of joy as seen in the film?
I saw this drawing online when my mom was sick, and it was like 3 concentric circles, and at the center was the person who's sick, and right around them is their close family, and then like friends and, you know, all the other acquaintances. And it was saying that as the circle gets wider, you cannot have more stress or more distress. Yeah, exactly. You can't have more distress than the person suffering. So I would just try to keep that in mind, like when things seem really bad and crappy, like just knowing that she's going through something much more intense, and, you know, I should try to feed her good energy, you know. And I think that's something that Set captures really well in coverage, is how the nurse, like in her treating with her patients, her clients, she's like very personable and really there, attentive. She lives with them for like 5 days. So, I mean, it gives me hope, things like this.
Okay. Another for Dario. From where did you draw your strength to overcome the situation with your family to live a life of joy? Wait. Oh, this was just posted twice. My bad. For all 3, did you go through any difficulties while filming? And if so, what were they?
Dario, did you want to go first, or? Okay, sorry. I think for me, the whole process of documentary nonfiction storytelling comes with a lot of trust. And working with Hector and Emma, I think of them as like almost my co-producers, you know, in this whole process, going through the journey with them of filmmaking and also being people that are in my life. I think one of the challenges when you're a person who's undocumented and also telling stories from your own community is it's like this 24/7 experience that you can't get out of, you know, because you're from that community. When you're watching footage, you're re-experiencing the realities that you're living in the outside world. And I think being able to navigate that is one of the tricky things about being an impacted person, telling stories from your own community. There was a time also, there was actually 3 protagonists in the film. And this person, they shared their story being undocumented and having a health condition. Originally, they were all good with being part of the film. But in the 11th hour, when we were about to be in our picture locked, they were telling us that when they consulted with their lawyer, their lawyer said, you know, it might not be best for them to be in the film. So last minute, like a week before we were supposed to premiere for our community premiere in LA, I had to recut the film to make sure to honor their request. And I think it's important that as nonfiction filmmakers, just because someone signs a release, you know, or someone gives you their consent first to film, right? When that consent changes, how do we make sure to honor that request? And grappling, you know, that the fact that in the past I've had similar experiences with people assume that they have the right to my story, when in reality, you know, I am my own person and I have the agency over my own story. And grappling with one's values, grappling with the mainstream methodologies of storytelling, I think is one of the key things that I navigated in making coverage.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
The biggest challenge for me was, privacy. I filmed a lot more material than I should have. And it wasn't until I cut all the material where my mom said, like, don't film this. So I cut that out of the film that it felt like it was finally done. But during the process of creating it, just to get the material I did, I feel like I had to accustom everybody to the presence of the camera really early on. So from the get out, just had the camera on, and I turned off the little red light that says it's recording, and I would just have it like in parts around the room propped up. So like, you know, pretty soon what I hoped was people would become less conscious of it. That said, I would not repeat my my methods for documenting something like this, because I think you know, what's understood does not need to be said, and that is something that I'm coming to grips with after I've totally like filmed and maybe even exposed my personal life. So now I like have more respect for the viewer, knowing like they can intuit things that are happening or traumas. So, you know, you don't always have to like assault them. And so now moving forward with my work, I try to operate under those tenets.
Thank you, Dario. Those are beautiful moments of growth and a lot of learning into just being able to treat each other, which is what Seth was speaking to as well, of being able to honor that this is someone's life and someone's story. And for me, it was the level of vulnerability in being able to speak about these issues. I've been a part of the immigrant rights movement for more than 15 years now, and part of our strategy is to be able to share stories and being able to change people's minds and hearts. And so when we share stories in this way, there's a lot of ourselves that we give. It's purposeful, and at the same time, it's this level of trauma that we raise for this purpose, and that can sometimes be traumatic as well. So for Set, very lovingly being able to cater to my need for privacy, and at the same time not being able to share my story as someone who's undocumented, uninsured, and transgender, and really pathologize who I am in my experience, to really be able to recognize me as a professional, and honoring that this is also my life's work and my calling of being able to give in this way and create change in this way. And so reaching that, I think as a filmmaker, it's a lot of vulnerability as well, of just recognizing mistakes, just like Dario beautifully did, mistakes that you make, and being able to hold someone's story. And so the more we listen, those barriers can be alleviated, of really being able to move in this work in a place of humility.
Another question for all, and I think this goes to what Dario was saying about what's understood doesn't necessarily need to be said, but why is healthcare a particularly important issue for you?
I totally missed the question.
Why is healthcare a particularly important issue for you?
Well, because it wasn't until my mom got sick that I really started thinking about, well, what is health dependent on? Is it, just luck of the draw, genetics, as most of us have heard, like that contributes a lot? Or does it have more to do with what you're exposed to, what you consume, what you do, what you're around? And then there's also the element that we learned, I think the one that was hardest for us to really sustain through my mom's illness, which was the element of positive thinking and like believing in something greater, because sometimes things certainly seem impossible, but yeah, we hear stories of, people pulling back from the brink of death. Or I was just watching I Shouldn't Be Alive, like I think sometimes there are greater forces at work in our lives, and maybe we can appeal to them, or at least acknowledge them. And that is what I think gives us that final push. And I think that's really something that we might be needing right now. When we're surrounded with negativity, it has to come, the positivity, the fight back against it has to come from within us.
Healthcare is important to me because this is, in various ways, we are experiencing institutional genocide. Currently, as we speak, for example, here in Southern California, in the Adelanto Detention Center, people are being gassed. They're using the excuse of COVID-19, stating that for the sake of meeting the demands of having an environment that isn't toxic of chemicals, they're actually spraying chemicals. This is a form of institutional genocide. Our babies are in cages, our people are being constantly deported. Just now we have the California Border Patrol and ICE agents on the streets as well. So really intimidating the undocumented and immigrant community for not showing up for Black lives, as well as continuously waving this threat of deportation and separating our family. And so these experiences come at us on various levels. The healthcare system, of when we do get sick, having very limited Band-Aid care options, in moments of a lot of helplessness, and wanting to recognize that that's wrong, that our institutions have a responsibility, especially when they can, here in the state of California, to be able to provide access and care for the people that sustain this state. And again, it's a matter of justice. It's a matter of also loving our people and being able to take care of our people in this way. There's, yes, institutional access of us being able to have the ability to be able to go to the doctor. And like Dario was also mentioning, it's environmental. A lot of our communities that are low income live in communities where there's a lot of pollution. In the Inland Empire, for example, we have the Amazon warehouses being able to increase pollution, as well as added airports. Expanding the airport in Ontario, which increases the air pollution in the community, and then the community gets sick at much higher rates, and then we're denied access to healthcare. So all of this is a constructed pattern of being able to kill us at much rapid rates. It is urgent, and it is a matter of life and death. And so this is very dear to our heart, and films like Coverage are really elevating that message to where we can connect this issue to larger universal healthcare conversations. And we cannot break away from that issue without speaking about undocumented communities. When we say all, we really mean all. That includes undocumented people, and especially transgender bodies and transgender non-conforming people and intersex people that are also excluded and neglected from the healthcare system.
Seth, do you have anything to add?
Oh yeah, sorry. I think, just want to really uplift how we say in the tagline for Coverage that sickness doesn't discriminate, so why should healthcare? For too long, our healthcare access has been through the form of GoFundMe. Even to bury a loved one who has passed away, we have to go through GoFundMe, through charity. Why is that normalized? And the media even normalizes it. Sometimes I see in the news someone passed away, go to our website and to the GoFundMe to help them. Like, that shouldn't even be a thing, but we've come to normalize it. And Dario shouldn't have had to self-deport to be able to take care of his mom. His mom should have been able to get the care that she needs, being here in this country. And that added layer of being separated from one's family, that shouldn't have had to happen, but it happened, right? Emma should have access to healthcare because she takes care of a 90-year-old woman, but she doesn't have access to healthcare. Hector has been out here doing the work for our communities, and how can I make sure that all of us have access to care during this time? Sorry, I realized I raised my voice. It's just that, it's just tiring, and people are out here acting like they deserve more than us, because they don't have papers, but when it comes to taking the labor of undocumented people, taking the tax money of undocumented people, taking the emotional labor of undocumented people, the brilliance of undocumented people for free, that's okay. But when we are out here needing healthcare access for ourselves, the bare minimum, it's like a big push, and that's just total bullshit, to be honest.
To add to your point, Seth, it's not a radical idea to have basic healthcare education and be protected by law enforcement. It's not, and it's really unsettling that a lot of people think that these are weird, radical ideas when it's really basic. And so until we can get to that point, we will continue to invite people to join, and these conversations are going to continue to grow.
Okay, we have 5 minutes left, so I think we have time for 2 more questions. Okay, for all, how are you getting your message and work out there during the pandemic? Whoever wants to go first. Derek.
Dang. Well, I've been very fortunate having the support of the Undocumented Filmmaker Collective. Have we talked about that, by the way? Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So the Undocumented Filmmaker Collective is a little group getting larger every day with members from all over the country that are involved in filmmaking, and they're undocumented. We started really by announcing a little bit of displeasure with Netflix over their show Living Undocumented, if anybody's seen it, because in the creation of the film, its producers reached out to our members asking if we knew stories of undocumented people that were going through like big changes or traumas in the coming months. And, you know, I tried to cooperate. Like, I want to get the stories of my friends out there. But someone like Seth had the forethought to say, hey, why don't you hire one of us to work on the show? I think it'd only be fair. To which they replied, oh, I don't think that's an option. So that just really, you know, shined a light on the injustices in our field, and which are definitely reflective of everything else, but we're just excluded. And we said, okay, if they're not going to give us the platforms, then we're going to have to make them. So we got together. Now we've had partnerships with lots of groups, such as Philadelphia Latino Film Festival, and people are listening. So yes, back to my original point. Thanks to the UFC, I'm getting work that's related to the COVID crisis. Like today, I was filming something about completing the census, and I got to go out to the park to like film people going to the hospital or to the library and stuff. Well, it's closed, but people hanging out by the library. And so there's opportunity everywhere, right? But it's up to us to cooperate and help each other. It's really hard on your own.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of what Dario said, when we think about the work of the collective, it's not the first group of people that's doing work to elevate the work of undocumented filmmakers. Before us, there was Tam Tran. Before us, there was Nancy Mesa, Jesus Iniguez, Julio Salgado, the Undocumented Media Collective. And undocumented people have been excluded from these mainstream platforms, yet we found a way to elevate our own stories through our own grassroots platforms. You know, so for example, with coverage, the way that we've been screening is in partnership with different community organizations, and being in community with the Health for All Coalition, with different organizations across the country that center the needs of domestic workers, day laborers, undocumented folks, because I think sometimes there's this understanding also that, oh, you're in a theater, that's more glamorous. But often our own communities don't even have access to these spaces. And how can we make sure that there's no there's no superiority complex, you know, just because your film is screening in a particular platform, you know? And with the collective also, we're developing our own film festival to really center the work of undocumented filmmakers, and just making sure that, you know, the pandemic, it is quite difficult to be in, but our communities, our ancestors have found ways to resist through similarly difficult times, and we are here because of that resistance.
Okay, we just about have to wrap up. Hector, do you want to add anything?
Yes, quickly I'll add that this is a time of innovation and imagination. And so the way in which we get our message out there has to be new and creative. And for myself, I'm still in a learning process of that and learning with all of you.
Great. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. The film festival, I believe, is still virtually going on. And I represent the Philadelphia Asian American Film Festival, which will happen in November in some capacity. And that's a wrap for this Q&A. Goodbye.